this trial. Now, so I had a chance after Saturday's scrimmage to go over to hear Dave Aranda. Blake Shapen spoke, and was it Mike Smith who also spoke as well, the linebacker transfer. But so Emory Winter asked Dave Aranda, defensive lineman Jackie Marshall, lost for the year back in the spring. That's something that we kind of had a good idea but couldn't get confirmation. Aranda confirmed he's out for the year with an ACL tear in the spring. He continues to praise linebacker Mike Smith, continuing to just constantly disrupt plays on defense. Freshman, go ahead.
No, I was going to say on the Jackie Marshall thing with the injury there, there was one, and I left it alone because I don't like to – I'm not like you. I don't like to fight every single battle out there, every single skirmish. But there was somebody who's like, well, why didn't we hear about this before? And it's like, well, because it was pretty tight-lipped. And, look, there's multiple outlets around here. It's not like we're the only one that could find out some information. So, you know, but this guy seemed to have a hard-on for wanting to just criticize Sic'Em. And it's like, hey, man, look around the room. There's plenty of other folks who didn't have it either. So it's something that kept pretty close to the vest. And, you know, I don't think it was – you know, nefarious by any means because it's just an injury in the long run, but it's definitely unfortunate news for Jackie Marshall. But, yeah, that took a long time to get out there for whatever reason. And to the point of they had already re-recruited the position with Justin Sambu coming in from Maine. So that was a direct recruitment attached to the loss of Jackie Marshall. So, yeah, that was quiet, but unfortunate is really the big takeaway there.
Here's the deal about injuries. One, there's a HIPAA law, so the university has to be careful. Two, we had an idea that Jackie Marshall was out because of an ACL tear, but if you can't get confirmation from the athletic department or for somebody that's like a family member that tells you that, and that doesn't happen a lot, you have to be careful because, man, if you're wrong, you look like an idiot. But Jackie Marshall's lost for the year. True freshman running back, this is good news. Bryson Washington, on a two-time state champion Franklin, the high school team, has missed some practices. Dave Aranda saying that he will return to practice and should be available for their next scrimmage. Jordan Jenkins, running back from Lindale, who's been kind of just sitting there on that depth chart with Quaylen Jones out, an explosive, powerful 19-yard touchdown run in the scrimmage. I spoke with his high school coach over the weekend, Chris Cochran, and Jordan's just being very patient. He wants to be at Baylor. There was probably a time back earlier this year where he wondered about should he look elsewhere. He might, with the Quaylen Jones news and how he looked Saturday, who knows, maybe we'll see more of him, but it all just depends on what they do. With a banger like he is, a big body with pretty good speed, you would want him to be a part of that wide zone offense. And my God, they've been waiting for it, and hopefully that everything has clicked with Jordan. Now, I was also told this, Craig, that Jordan missed some time at the end of last year. He had a concussion last year. But also at some point, his grandmother has raised him, basically. His mother died when he was very young, and that she got sick, and he went back to see her for, I think, maybe 2 or 3 days. There was something out there that perhaps he got in the doghouse because of that. No, he didn't. That's just, again, you're not going to be, like, kept off the field if you can make an impact on the team. And so Jordan, maybe that run Saturday, that it's time for him to make an impact in that running back position.
Well, they can certainly use him. I mean, they're going to run the ball a lot. And, you know, as we saw last year, it takes 1 or 2 injuries early on, and you're kind of screwed the rest of the way. And, you know, it turned out to be great for Richard Reese. He's a, you know, all-American freshman mention, you know, kind of a guy, got some all-Big 12 type love when all said and done. But, you know, he was also a true freshman that was probably running way too much for his size and for just his age. And now it wasn't like he's like some big body back coming out of high school that was a 5-star. You know, it's like, no, a smaller, leaner, 3-star type of player. And not that those guys can't, you know, go and have terrific careers by any means, but it's just a lot on his plate early on that wasn't expected from anybody. And so the more the merrier, and certainly having a bigger guy like Jordan then, you know, that would help matters as well, especially getting down and dirty in between the tackles where, you know, that was a Quaylen Jones kind of a role, or at least part of what, you know, he could do to some extent. So, yeah, it's going to be all hands on deck, and it's not like they lost Adrian Peterson. I mean, this is a blip on the radar. Most people don't even know the name Quaylen Jones anyways, but for them, just knowing how that running back room kind of cratered last year numbers-wise, it is something you go, oh, Is that going to be all right? No, Jenkins isn't. Bryson Washington's not practicing. Like, I'm out there the other day. They got like 4 guys out there practicing at running back, and you go, oh, gosh, this could get bad, not including a walk-on. So good to hear that a couple of these players are starting to rise to the occasion.
All right, so here's a couple of comments from Dave Aranda. Blake Shapen struggled last year, but so did the entire offense, the receivers, and then sometimes the protection too. So he was asked about Blake Shapen at the practice. He said he looks so much more decisive with his reads and decision-making. So to me, the next question is, what is that because things were missing last year for him to have a go-to? Here's Aranda's conversation.
When you're saying he's decisive, was that something that last year was hard because he had to throw the perfect pass alive?
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I appreciate the question. I feel like we probably coached him to be perfect, and shame on me with that. And so and then we didn't have the weapons that we have now, and so I just think when it's framed in that way, it was a real high uphill climb, and so. Now, with the people that we got, and then just having gone through it, and the confidence and everything that's with it, way decisive. So there's a few scrambles where he really was able to penetrate, kind of cut the defense, and then was able to, at the top of the drop, get a ball out prior to the break, and the receiver, he sticks his foot in the ground, and the ball's right there. Hal had one of those, and so it's just really cool to see. When it's stuff like that, everyone kind of notices, and their confidence grows.
And then Blake Shapen came and met for a second. Just a real short comment from him, and I asked him, why? Why is there a difference this year?
Coach Aranda said your decisiveness is better compared to perhaps last year. Why?
I'd say, I took it very serious going in the film room this offseason, being able to watch tape, being able to be on the same page with these other guys, the skill guys. And so I've taken that to another level. So just being able to play more fast, when I get on the field, just letting loose and playing like me, that's the key. So.
All right, there it is. And, more film work, whatever, growing up a little bit, maturing a little bit. That remains to be seen. We'll see what happens with Jackson there from Arkansas. It sure doesn't help because he made some possession, as Aranda said in the postgame, made some contested catches. Now, I didn't think about this when I asked him the question, other than the fact I want to get a coach's perspective on all of this realignment with what's going on with the Pac-12. And, my God, that's where he grew up in California. Dave Aranda with a kind of a twist and turns of different opinions and nuggets on the college football realignment landscape.
Have you talked since the teams were added? Because I can't get to the practices.
No.
The new teams, and is that even on your radar as you get ready for the season?
I appreciate it. I think it's very exciting, and I think it's exciting and it's sad. I remember I was a Pac-10 fan growing up, and I remember going to the Rose Bowl. I remember watching USC games with my dad, and I remember when Washington went to the Rose Bowl. I remember when the Badgers beat the Bruins, and and so it's sad thinking that, or knowing what's happened, and so it's hard. I have to imagine at every level, as a coach, whether it's players are being paid, whether it's players can transfer, whether it's or all of which are understandable things. I think if a coach leaves, a player should be able to leave. I think if a coach is getting crazy money, I can understand and totally support the player getting it. But I just think with the focus you have as a coach to be able to treat people right, so that your people stay and your people grow under you, and it's not like a revolving door. I just think that is a positive thing, I feel, and it shouldn't have to be like this to have it, but I think it's a positive thing. And so I think there's always growth that comes in your role, and I can see from an administrator view, just looking for a bright side of it, knowing that, hey, this is kind of a sad day that this league is no more or this league is such, but we've added people and we're stronger. I think it's kind of a melancholy thing. I can see, you're trying to find the bright side of things all the way across. I think that's the state where college football is. But I would say, knowing some of the coaches that are in, the league just got tougher, and a lot of quality physical teams. And I'm excited for it, and I'm blessed to be a part of it.
The league just got tougher. He was talking about the head coaches. And, I didn't think about that. And, of course, his father just recently passed away. So when he brought that up, going to games with him, USC game, Washington, Rose Bowl, whatever, that was probably something that he reflected back on quite a bit in recent days.
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is just acknowledging, the point that it's come to where this is all happening. And it's just kind of sad to see. And I think he had some really poignant comments there about, how you talk to players and you talk to your team and you build a team and do things the way it's kind of supposed to be done. And it's harder to do that now because people can just pick up and leave whenever they want to, himself included. Like he said, he's all for, the players being able to get paid money like the coaches. He's all for players being able to move around like the coaches, but he's also all for learning some lessons along the way and having to fight through things and, make it past adversity. And it's kind of hard to build a team and instill the culture and do all those things you want to do over the long haul if it's shifting every few months or every year. And so I think that's a frustration for coaches who are in it for those reasons and not just to win titles and get rings and make big money. I mean, all that's part of it too, but there is the teaching aspect and the development part and all of that. And a lot of that can, become quite messy when it's shifting as quickly as it is, whether it be teams or players or conferences or whatever. So, yeah, I thought that was an insightful, answer on his part and leads you to wondering, is that going to cause it's kind of like athletic directors getting tired of it. Like, are they going to move to other industries? You wonder about coaches. Like, would you rather just go to the NFL? Like, hey, we got a salary cap. Guys are under contract. Everybody's on an equal playing field. We're not going to get booted out of our conference. Like, you know what? I used to say, no, man, I'd much rather be nowadays, I think I would much rather be an NFL head coach than be a college coach. And I don't know if those are his aspirations, but certainly we've seen others dabble with it. And, if he were to go that direction or any other college coach for that matter, I would not blame them one bit. And if I were them, I'd do the same exact thing.
Well, the NIL in the NFL is a salary cap. Everybody gets paid.
You don't have to go raise it. It's there.
You're drafted a certain amount. You get a certain amount of money. And, there's free agency, but it's there.
Players can't hold you hostage to the extent that they can now. They can get in a bidding war for a free agent, but there's protocols. There's, a structure in place. So, hey, you got this offer, now this team comes and offers. But the way it is now, it's like there's just agents and DMs just, throwing around whatever and however it works. And, yeah, I would much prefer the structure of the NFL and contracts and all that. Now, I know that with the contracts especially opens up the door to full-time employees, and I understand why one's oil and one's water. But if I'm a head coach, just speaking specifically about that, and I know, hey, this receiver's on my team for the next 4 years, and the only way that he's not is if he's, not very good and we have to get rid of him, or even then he'll still, based on his contract, still be paid, wherever he goes or however that works out. So there's at least that fail-safe, or he gets hurt, and that's the only way. Otherwise, he's playing for my football team, and I can plan around this guy for the next 2 to 3 years. And, certainly there's unforeseen things that happen, in the league as well, especially injuries. But at least you know who's on your team, how long they're going to be on your team. You have to worry about your star wide receiver getting poached by the NFC East rival in the middle of the semester. I mean, that's just, when you really think about it, it's ridiculous. Like, it is, and yet there's not an argument really against it because of the way it was all set up to begin with. And that's why we're in the mess that we're in right now, where it is so wild, wild west, as everybody wants to refer to it as, which part of it is the entertainment. But as a head coach, again, I would much rather have the structure. So I wouldn't be surprised to see more guys go and dabble in the NFL anyways, but especially kind of the way that it is right now. I don't know if Aranda would ever be one of those guys, but it is interesting to hear him kind of speak on just all of the changes and, what it takes away, which is the ability to build teams and individuals over the long haul Whereas now, as soon as you sign them, you're already re-recruiting them to make sure they're going to be around for the next year. And that's just that's a lot of wasted energy and time that would be better served trying to prop them up as people and better them as individuals.
The only professional athlete who has a consistent transfer portal is James Harden.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, he's sort of one of those guys. Yeah.
All right, so here's the list of the top 20